Breaking news.
Drama! Yes, drama when it comes to Manchester United.
It's all kicking off.
Man United won't break the bank for him. And if Man United won't break the bank for him, they've got other targets. What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. And Alejandro Garnacho. Of course, Alejandro Garnacho is one of many, specifically 5 players that it was reported on Friday have been told, don't come back for pre-season. Not yet anyway. Focus on securing a move elsewhere. Focus on leaving Manchester United. Manchester United claim that they have requested to leave the club. Some of the players say, no, Manchester United have told us to leave the club. We haven't requested anything. Either way, they're on their way out. And Alejandro Garnacho is one of those players. But as we've seen over the last few weeks when it comes to Garnacho and a lot of these players that were seemingly on the way out of Manchester United, there's not that much noise, is there? Radio silence. We've heard nothing. Links were there in January with Chelsea, with Napoli, with some other clubs. So far this summer, not so much. But maybe, just maybe, that is about to change for the Argentinian international. Maybe Napoli are back in the race. Maybe, according to a new report, they're looking to sign Garnacho for £45 million. But the big question is that enough? When you look at all of the players that are available to be sold this summer for Manchester United, Garnacho, you think, is the one that could actually raise the most money. He's not got a big contract. He's on around £50,000 a week. He's young. He's 20 years old. He's played over 100 times for Manchester United. He's scored in games like an FA Cup final. If roles were reversed and we were going after a 20-year-old, you think he'd be worth more than £45 million. And he's from the academy. It's pure profit. And because it's pure profit, the Manchester United need to get the highest amount possible, considering you've got a market where people like Anthony Elanga are going for 55 million. Gittins, over 50 million pounds. You know, Brentford are charging an arm and a leg for Brian Mbeumo because they're looking at those deals as well, going, João Pedro, 60 million. Oh, I think Brian Mbeumo is worth more. So Manchester United do the same and say, Alejandro Garnacho, you might want 45, but we need more. Or are Manchester United so desperate for money, so desperate to move in the transfer market that they say, you know what? It's not what we would have ideally wanted, but we've got to take the hit. Let me know your thoughts. Welcome to the Transfer View. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe to United View. How many people we got already through the door? Already close to 600 people through the door already, straight away, which is fantastic. Already 4 away from 100 likes. So if you haven't already, click the like button. It's a solo and show. Yes, it's a solo and show, as Fleck mentioned at the end of yesterday's Transfer View. He'll be away for a few days for the morning shows. You will see him pop up once, twice, maybe 3 times for a few Flex's views here and there when Manchester United news permits. I'm sure he's probably watching right now. He may even pop up in the comments. You never know when Fleck is watching. So you're stuck with me for at least a few days anyway. I can see people in the chat this morning. I can see Michael, one of our members, says, I hope Owen won't in any way speak of any Mbeumo stories. Please, my anxiety. Yeah. It's not really on the docket for this morning, but you never know. The social media feed is open. We can maybe see. We shall see. Daniel Luciano, one of the members, one of the moderators, says, big up UV fam. Garsha, one of the members, says, happy Thursday, everyone. Yes. Sad Sack says, 31 degrees in London. People will die. I mean, that's dramatic. But, you know, it's going to be, I guess, quite hot today. What is the weather? What is the weather like where you're from? Whether it's in London, whether it's in Manchester, you know, whether it's up north where I am, in Narnia, where it's actually, for where I am, it's warm. I think it's like 17 degrees this morning. I've got the fan on, but that's because, you know, I've always got the red face. I've got the red shirt on, red face. It's just, you know, so it's the fan's on. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Lil Yo's in the chat. Big up Lil Yo, one of the mods, one of the members, and a chief reckless coordinator over at KG Reckless Sports. Be sure to subscribe. 50K recently. Tabrez is in there. Says morning. Grandpa says on the coast, sea breeze. I feel it. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Ethan says we need some good form of good news, please. UV. I will try my best. Remember, there are unwritten rules for solo and morning shows. No sarcasm, no laughter, no of anything. None of anything. But yes, we are going to be talking about Alejandro Garnacho this morning and how possibly a move to Naples could be back could be back on the market. Jadon Sancho, particularly, this is interesting when it comes to Jadon Sancho. Manchester United so desperate to move on Jadon Sancho that an original price of £25 million may no longer actually be acceptable. They might be dropping it by 10 million to 15 million pounds. 15 million pounds. Oh my goodness me. And we're also going to be talking about Ineos. Kave Solokol would say Ineos, a transfer overhaul. Yes, a report from David Ornstein from The Athletic came out yesterday. It's the exclusives for Manchester United from David Ornstein that we don't really want. That's twice in the space of 2 days that it says there's the siren. Well, it's like a tick list, isn't it? You go, Ornstein, yes. Siren, yes. Exclusive, yes. Manchester United, yes. And it goes, they've got a bit of a recruitment overhaul. You go, it's not, or exclusive, yes. Amazon documentary, it's not happening. Oh, no, it's not that exclusive, but you never know. We'll see what happens whilst we're live, indeed. Yes, let's start with this Alejandro Garnacho news. Of course, Garnacho, as I said during the intro, one of the 5 names that was told over the last week or so. Mate, you don't have to worry about coming back. You can take some time away. Study leave, as we were using the analogy, weren't we? Using the analogy of a study leave. Yeah, it's a bit study leave, basically. You can just sort of, you don't have to come in. You can use library facilities if you want to. Marcus Rashford decided that's what he's going to do. In the case of others, they said, no, probably won't. But Alejandro Garnacho, according to David McDonald from The Mirror, Napoli are back in for Alejandro Garnacho and are hoping to finally get him for £45 million. Thoughts, folks? On £45 million. Are you having that? I know that we kind of had this argument back and forth between ourselves yesterday and the UV community, didn't we? About whether 45 million, well, what was the acceptable price for Alejandro Garnacho? That's what we were having this discussion about. Some people are just done, aren't they? They're just done with Garnacho, saying he's never going to be that good. He's overrated. He's rubbish. He's only going to end up playing for Malaga or generic. It's always a Spanish club, but generic Spanish club X. Osasuna. He's going to end up playing Mallorca. That's what it's. He's only ever going to play. He's never going to be good. So just sell him, get the money. There will be others, and I do include myself in this camp of, regardless of your personal feelings towards him, animosity towards him, his performances on the pitch, maybe behavior off of it, he is still an asset where he's a young guy who's played a lot of football at a very big club under a lot of scrutiny and pressure and delivered in big moments. If he was at any other club, they would be valuing him at 50, 60, maybe even higher than that. Maybe even higher. And I know that gets the scoff of, Garnacho for 70 million, but other clubs would be doing it. And then on top of that, look at the market. Look at the market right now. The way that, just in the Premier League, let's just go from Premier League clubs to Premier League clubs, right? With some of these transfers we're seeing at the moment, or the way other Premier League clubs have been operating. Some of the players that have been going for 50 plus million, it's unbelievable, really, isn't it? Anthony Elanga, I'm really happy for him that he's moved to Newcastle, but £55 million. That's a lot of money. Gittins going from Borussia Dortmund to Chelsea. That's what, 55 million pounds? João Pedro going from Brighton to Chelsea, 50 to 60 million pounds. That's like the benchmark in this window. Noni Madueke, a bid went in yesterday, wasn't it, for the Chelsea winger from Arsenal? And again, I think it's 50 million. And Garnacho's done more in the Premier League than Madueke has. Fact. And I know that, again, the roll the eyes are because we watch Garnacho every single week as opposed to watching Chelsea every single week. You watch them occasionally when they're on TV and you see Madueke, or because Madueke's played for the country a couple of times now. But in terms of profile of players, very similar. Quick, can go past players, but runs down blind alley, can be very wasteful. So I 45 million is low. I think it just depends on what would the structure of that deal look like. If you said to me, it's 45 million upfront fixed, and there's a lot of, I'm going to say it, trigger warning, add-ons. If there was a deal that could be figured out where total package is around 60 million, maybe there's a salon clause involved in that too. All right, then we can have a bit of a conversation. But if you're saying a total 45 million pound deal for Alejandro Garnacho, that is not good enough. And this is once again that situation where many things can be true at the same time, can't they? And I didn't mean to do the Gyökeres thing. I know that's sour for everyone still at the moment. But two things can be true, or many things can be true at the same times, i.e., have we made it difficult for ourselves with how the situation has played out with Alejandro Garnacho and because of sort of, say, the baggage that comes with it? Yeah. And clubs will be banking on that. We've made that difficult for ourselves. I think it's a bit of a catch-22 situation because I think the thought process is with some of these players, certainly, that we've tried maybe the sort of more delicate approach with, all right, let's not shove them out and let's just try and do business the proper way. And look where it's got us. What's being nice? Where's that got us? Because if you're nice, then the players can dig their heels in. You know what? Actually, it's not the right move for me. I think I'll stay. I think, you know what? Yeah, actually, yeah. I went out on the preseason tour and I saw the reaction from fans, and I actually had a good preseason. I was factored into the preseason and I had good training with the squad, and I like it at Manchester United. It's all I know. So yeah, I think I'll stay. And it's kind of once again from fans, what do we want? Get them out the club. They need to go. And then it's, we shouldn't have said that out in public. We've now taken a bit of money off, haven't we? As if, we should have done that. Alejandro Garnacho as a player and what he's achieved at just the age of 20, playing for multiple years in the Premier League, I think kind of speaks for itself, regardless of whether you think people have attitudes all the time and they still get good transfer deals. By goodness me. So I think if you look at the market right now, and it seems to be the benchmark for almost, to be honest, for any transfer in the Premier League is like it's north of 50. It's always like north of 50. All right, talking, particularly if it's Premier League club to Premier League club, which according to all the reports, that's what Garnacho wants. He wants to stay in the Prem. So already then you're looking at only a select few clubs that would really be able to get him. You would think he'd probably want to be staying in European football. And then, he's not going to go to City. He's not going to go to Liverpool. Could you see him go to Arsenal? Maybe. Could you see him go to Chelsea? Maybe. Could you see him going to Newcastle? Maybe. But again, they've just spent 55 million on Anthony Elanga. So it's a difficult one with Newcastle. Do they have the money to get him? Of course they do. Do they have the PSR position to get him? Maybe not. Andre says maybe Nottingham Forest. Depending on what their transfer business looks like, I don't know. Because yes, they have sold Elanga, but they have already brought in, I think they brought in like 3 Brazilian players, maybe even more than that. But they just announced Edu as the head of global, whatever it is, football. I'm not sure what his official title is. Aston Villa, again, maybe depends on their PSR situation. The most realistic one to me does feel like probably Chelsea, because it doesn't matter that they've brought in other wingers, because they just, the moment you think you've understood Chelsea's transfer strategy, it kind of changes again. And that Madueke looks like he would be going to Arsenal. So I guess there is a position there for that to happen. Otherwise, we are, I guess, looking at European suitors. And if that is the case, then maybe we have to accept that it's going to be less. It's going to be less money, unless there's a situation whereby, the Osimhen deal from Napoli to Galatasaray does happen. That one looks to be at the moment like that's going to happen, but it's a bit more complicated because Napoli are like, well, Al Hilal were going to pay us X amount of money, but you didn't want to go to Al Hilal, so we want a similar amount of money. with the money that they get for that, could they then spend it on Garnacho? Once again, it feels like we're waiting for some kind of domino to fall here, aren't we? Some kind of domino to fall, and then something will happen when it comes to our players. But as we've been talking about for certainly the last week, and we've come on these shows. I mean, Flex the other day started out this very show bright, bubbly, full of energy. By the end of it, he was distraught, absolutely distraught, wasn't he? It was the endorphins, as he called it, were flying, and then they disappeared because it has gone quiet, hasn't it? And as Tom says there, it's very true. The Oshman money earmarked possibly for Darwin Núñez. So it's difficult. You know, it's going to be difficult. So I don't know. Joey Kneecap says Garnacho is a rotten egg. He's toxic. No club wants that at a premium price. Why is that so hard to understand, Owen? Because I don't think that's completely accurate. I mean, would certain clubs be looking at Garnacho and the stuff off the pitch and whatever? Would that factor into it? Yeah, of course that would factor into it. But if you think that clubs, you know, particularly in football, history is littered with examples of this. Why do you think players that are problematic still end up going to so many clubs? Because they've got talent. You look at someone like, say, Nicolas Anelka. There was a reason he had the record for the most amount of money spent on him throughout his career. That was because despite off-the-field issues or despite falling outs or what have you, they still went, well, on his day, if we can be the one that harnesses him, you know, and gets him to settle down, he can offer something for us. You know, you look at, someone mentions it in the chat there, Eric Cantona. Before we signed Eric Cantona, and I'm not saying Garnacho's Cantona, before anyone goes, you're saying, but Leeds, they just won the league. And they were, well, Cantona, bad egg. You know what I mean? Bad egg. Anyone, it depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. It depends on the club. It depends on the context. Sometimes it depends on the coach. How many times have we seen this? He had issues everywhere except for when he worked with that coach. You know, was it Adel Taarabt? Don't go anywhere near him. Don't go anywhere near him. And Neil Warnock, QPR, baller. He's brilliant. It just depends. Some of these players for certain coaches are unmanageable. Can't manage them. They are just problematic. Can't deal with them. Some, they're like, well, we'll have a go. We'll figure it out. Yeah, you know. So I think this notion, would it affect a possible deal? Of course it would. But this notion that because there have been off-the-field problems with Alejandro Garnacho, therefore he must go for £25 million because he's unsellable, that's just not accurate, in my opinion. I think that the accurate thing is, does it make it more difficult? Of course. Does it maybe turn away a couple of clubs? Of course. Doesn't make it impossible to do. Doesn't mean, well, we should just then release him because no one will sign him. We'll release him, but then it'll still be that much of a problem that no one will want to sign him. He's that toxic. I mean, come on. You know, as Fabsy mentions there in the chat. Remember, Jadon Sancho was the same. It was completely toxic. No, with what happened with Erik ten Hag. Dortmund wanted him back. The only reason that he's not at Dortmund or Chelsea today is because of us. It's our fault. We put him on a contract no one else will give him. So I think maybe too much gets made of the he's a bad egg or he's this, he's that. Because is that a part of it for some clubs? Sure. I mean, you could argue, you know, an elite top club, they'd be like, is it worth the risk? We've got people here, maybe not. But, you know, people sign footballers. And to be honest, if you think Alejandro Garnacho, with maybe some of his attitude or behavior off the pitch, is atypical for a modern day footballer, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we, the fan, can relate to some of the way that footballers think nowadays. But that's probably very, very normal. the amount of footballers. I mean, you know, you see Garnacho's brother on social media or what have you. The amount of footballers that have burner accounts probably that are tweeting all sorts of stuff we just don't know about. You know, of course. So yeah, I don't think I don't think that's as much of a issue in this deal as is, say, someone like, you look at, say, Rashford. Maybe that's a little bit different because of the wages involved and because of how much money you're going to commit to that. Whereas Garnacho, you go, well, lesser contract. He's still very young. Whereas Rashford's 28, however old he is. Garnacho 20 at this point. They grow out of it. They would be like, oh, it's still grow out of it. So yeah, I think that I don't. Would it make certain deals more difficult? Yes. Does it make it impossible to sell? Absolutely not. Asim says, and regardless of it being common, can we normalize poor behavior, such as from someone like Garnacho? But I don't think it's normalizing it. I do think it's also understanding that, is his ego maybe too big for it? Does his ego not match his ability? Absolutely. If you think that footballers, particularly young footballers nowadays, aren't like that, honestly, that kind of stuff's rampant. So I don't think it will put clubs off buying him, because it's a different world. Like the world I think a fan thinks, we love our club so much, we love the game so much, that I think we're like, look, if I had the honor or the privilege of being a professional footballer, an elite athlete, I'd be so professional, going into work every single day. I'll be first there, last to leave, putting the work in, blah, 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 blah. And some players do, but also it's a different life than they've experienced, right? And I mentioned before about how cutthroat youth football is. It does build up a callous to you, where you don't, that loyalty to one club or that loyalty to one organization, it's not the same as we have it, because they've also been rejected, turned down, told they're shit most of the time. And if you make a bad pass, you're awful. If you score a goal, you're a hero. You must look at probably football fans and be like, they're so fickle, they don't actually care that much about me. And it builds this barrier, doesn't it? It's tough. So there's always, that's why there's that lack of, there's not a lot of mutual ground between players and fans anymore, is there? It's not like back in the day where you could look at a player and go, I resonate with that player. Like I can see myself in that player, where they've come from, what the work they put in. It's not like that anymore. Avi has been a member for 22 months. Appreciate 22 months of support, Avi. Says 45 billion is atrocious, but screw it, take it. Nick Carter with the super chat. Appreciate you, Nick. Says, Mbeumo this week, do you reckon? Well, I'm not going to do, I've already said,
sorry.
For that before. I got in trouble I thought he was going to be in for, was it Monday, Thursday? We're not any closer. I tell you what was alarming, Nick, yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. The goalposts have started to move a bit with the Mbeumo one, which is really alarming. That does worry me. That is full on.
Well, it's Groundhog Day again.
Because the report yesterday, I think it was coming from Darmashev. It was coming from Darmesh from Sky, and sort of the latest was, United is still really working on the Bryan Mbeumo deal, and they hope to have him in for the beginning of the US preseason tour. You can see it right there. It's brought to you by Oxford Natural by Gowan Life, KG Fleck, just Josh Media Graphics Guru Visual Ninja out on tour. And when I saw that, I went, where's literally? Right,
no, wait a minute. Wait.
I thought a couple of weeks ago it was, they want him in for the first day of preseason training on the 7th, or they want him in before then. I thought, press it again.
Hold on, wait a minute.
I thought it was, one of the first sort of days of the window opening. That's when we wanted Mbeumo in for. And now it's, we want him on tour. And I thought, well, then we know where this is heading, don't we? Because where that's heading is we want him for the beginning of the season. Work's being done. We want him in for the beginning of the season. And then the goalpost will get moved inevitably for that one. We want him in for the window shuts. We'll get it done before the window shuts, maybe, or before international break. That's where we're looking at. I thought, oh my God. So to answer your question, a very long-winded answer there, Nick, I don't know. I really, really don't. jokingly said yesterday, like, as a joke, I said he's already in America, so he might as well just stay out there, and then we'll meet him on the way. The more that time goes on, the more I'm kind of realizing that's probably not a joke. That's probably actually very realistic, isn't it? We might just literally pick him up along the way. You're in LA at the moment. Just come meet us in New Jersey. You know, you can play at the MetLife. You can play it there. Let's do that. So I don't know. I really don't know. Nick also says, and 65 million from Mbeumo in this market is a steal. Amanor says, if Garnacho was at Brentford, his price tag would be 60 million. Well, another interesting thing yesterday with the Mbeumo stuff was, I don't know if you saw this too. I can't remember who was reporting it. It might have been once again Sky. I think it might have been Lyle Thomas from Sky Sports, which is an interesting one because he was the one to report that Spurs were interested in signing Bryan Mbeumo, and then very quickly that was poo-pooed as like, well, look, he's not interested. It's not happening. So it went away very quickly. But he did report yesterday that Spurs were interested in signing Visser from Brentford, and Brentford would be open to selling him, but it's kind of one or the other. Maybe they could sell two in the same window, but it'd have to be for a lot of money. It would make one of those deals even more difficult and even more expensive to do. And it could change a lot of things. So how real that is, I don't know, because like I said, the last story that he reported on when it comes to Spurs and Brentford wasn't accurate. I don't know if it's just one of those things of Thomas Frank's in, he's just going to go to Brentford and try and get, his players. Is that easy journalism? Or is it actually what's happening? They've got a here we go on Mohamed Kudus from West Ham. They've got, we kind of forget, don't we? Because we try and blank it out of our minds. They actually have the allure of Champions League football, something we don't have because we lost against Spurs in the Europa League final. God, how embarrassing. But that might just be a ploy from Brentford once more, just to get the Mbeumo one over the line of, we might sell Visser. And if we do that, we're going to add more money onto it. I just don't know. Nick also says, you don't get to the top without effort. Look at Dembele. He was cast away for attitude. And now look at him. He's working harder and a leader. Look, yeah, Ousmane Dembele was one of those names. I mean, as is always the case, no situation is exactly the same. He had a lot of injuries, didn't he? He was always out for a long period of time. And then fans at Barca had initially turned on him, then warmed to him. And he did have flashes of brilliance. And I don't think Garnacho was ever been at the level of Ousmane Dembele. But now you look at PSG. I mean, talk about dismantling a team yesterday against Real Madrid. Oh, my goodness me. And I really, really hope PSG win, obviously, against Chelsea. The reason is because I think it will actually give that tournament credibility. And PSG right now are the best team in the world. If you were going to crown a team world champions, the champions of the world, you would go, well, the best team in the world right now is PSG. Look at what they are doing. They absolutely decimated Inter Milan in a Champions League final. What was it? 4-5-0. Last night, they play Real Madrid. Heritage, football heritage, European heritage. I know they're probably not the Real Madrid of a couple of seasons ago, that inevitable Don Carlo Real Madrid, but still absolutely smashed them. And you want to talk about a coach and also a philosophy of getting it right, going from the mindset of Galacticos, we're just going to buy the best players on the planet and Harlem Globetrotter settings, fill that team with the best, and then we'll just be the best. We'll have Mbappe, Neymar, Messi. How can you get better than that? We'll put Sergio Ramos in there too. God, look at all the Champions League teams. We're going to put them in and then figure it out. And then they quickly realize, actually, this isn't working. It's not about the individual. It's about the collective. Nowadays in football, especially, you need that off-the-ball work. You need that ability to press. You need that ability to work together. And Luis Enrique came in, had one look at it and went, that doesn't work. And it doesn't work for me. What I need, get rid of those superstar players. Let's bring in those players that are, maybe they're not as big of a name yet as obviously Messi's and Neymar's and Mbappe. And they did want to keep Mbappe, but I think that's actually worked out to their benefit because Mbappe, is he the best team player? Probably not. Now you've got a team that is just technically, God, they're good. That midfield, Vitinha, Ruiz, just sensational. I mean, absolutely sensational. And obviously then you've got Dembele, you've got Barcola, you've got someone like Casala around, which you can bring off the bench. They're just another level, absolute another level. And I tell you what, it was funny the other day. I don't know if you saw this, guys, when Man United were getting linked to, was it Ruiz from PSG? Which was, I think, was it Fabio Ruiz? I forget. We were linked to a PSG midfielder the other day, and I just laughed. I went. It was one of I think it might have been. You got João Neves in there, Vitinha. Fabio Ruiz, João Neves, and Vitinha as that midfield three. Just no one could touch him. I think it was. I think we were linked to like Fabio Ruiz the other day, and I thought, no, we're not getting him. Why on earth? Why on earth would he come to Manchester United at this point when he's played for the best team in the world? They just won the Champions League. I think they're going to win the Club World Cup. Why would he come into our team? Like, no, absolutely not. I know you could maybe say, well, he's older than the other three. He's 29, and maybe PSG might move him on and bring in a younger player. But for how they play, 29's nothing. He could be in that team, setting tempos, dictating play along with Vitinha and Neves till he's mid-30s. Easy. Same way, like the show says there in the chat, the Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta. For me, it's obviously that's a big statement, and it's not saying they're better than, but they won Champions League. They're going to be the best, I think, best team in the world. I don't think Chelsea will get near them. You've got to say, like, again, they just roll off the tongue. They're brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Superb. A couple more super chats. Move on to the next topic. Nick also back with another one. Big up, Nick. Really get involved in the show. Says final super chat and big up Owen for the channel and all you do. But new kit launch 16th of July. It's got Mbeumo written all over it for all that date for me. Well, we shall see. We shall see, indeed, if that's what it is. Manchester United have been known, haven't they, in the past to be quite commercially focused. We've got over 1,400 people watching this morning, which is fantastic for a solo-in show. We're at 361 likes. So if you haven't already clicked the like button, let's see if we can get that to 400, 500, which would be great for a solo show. Really appreciate everyone for getting involved and sharing their thoughts and opinions this morning. So yes, if you haven't already clicked the like button, and also be sure to subscribe as well. You can see in the top right-hand corner, we're over 196,000 subscribers on that road to 200K. And it's going to be a big month. Pre-season starts in 9 days. Yeah, nine over the line in 9 days. We're going to play in Leeds in Sweden. And then, a week or so after that, we're going to be in the US of A. Yes, Fleck, KG, Just Josh Media. They'll be on tour following the team. We'll have, obviously, content, interviews, vlogs, crossovers, you name it. Of course, I will be here in the Asylum with some very late night match views. We'll be delirious with our coffees, monsters, and everything else in between. It's always a very enjoyable time of the year. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, click the notification bell, because you'll need it when those videos, the upload schedule goes out the window during tour. It's mad. You get stadium tours and everything. It's fantastic. Let's move on and let's talk about Jadon Sancho. Now, speaking of, just get rid of him and the Marcel Onyx that he was putting out there on Monday's red carpet, maybe Manchester United are considering doing this for Jadon Sancho. Because, according to Give Me Sport, Manchester United are considering selling Jadon Sancho for a significantly lower transfer fee of £15 million as they struggle to find a buyer to reach their £25 million valuation. Now, this is a different situation, isn't it? Because we are so desperate to get rid of and talk about how far your stock has fallen. This is a player that at one point, Borussia Dortmund were quoting us like £100 million for over. Remember that summer, the long Sancho saga? The worst thing is now, if you say the long Sancho saga, people would go, which one? Because there's been so many. But you'd go, the long Sancho saga, the first one, the first edition, way back when, what was that, 2020? Of when, Dortmund were Ollie really wanted him, and it felt like we were going to get him, and there were deadlines for certain bids to be put in, weren't there? And Man United didn't believe they were real deadlines, and they were real deadlines. And Dortmund were putting stuff on their social media, or he's here, he's at training, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward 5 years, we're having to drop it to £15 million to sell him. 15. Yeah. As Shay mentions there in the chat, Brighton have just got 20 million for Adingra, has gone to Sunderland. Brilliant signing for them. A really good signing for Sunderland. We can't even get 15 for Jadon Sancho. Obviously, look, it's different. His wages are the problem. You know, was he north of £200,000 a week? Chelsea, they went, no. Not many people at this club get that amount of money. You can make that money if you sign a lesser contract. There's a lot of incentives, appearance fees, goal fees, you know, winning trophies, etc., etc. You can make money here, but you're going to have to earn it. Said no. It feels like he's being linked with the move to Juventus every day, and maybe this is just me, and maybe this is a good sign. You need to sort of stay off the timeline a little bit. But are you getting like me, getting a bit tired of every single day? Jadon Sancho to Juventus is getting closer than close. How many times can they say it? I feel like I see a different Italian journalist every day say it's never been so close. Jadon Sancho to Juventus, it's never been closer. And you go until tomorrow, when I guess it will be closer, right? And then comes on the next day. It's never been as close as it was since yesterday. It's like, oh, cool. And I'm still yet, you know, and then when you do hear like some sort of domestic journalists like David Ornstein or others talk about it, they go, right, there are talks. I don't know if it's close, but there are talks about it, maybe. So I still think he goes, but maybe with this one, because the money's not there to be made like it would be with, say, Garnacho. It's a homegrown player. It's pure profit. If you get a good fee, you can spend 2-3 times that much. Same with Marcus Rashford as well. It's not going to be as much as Garnacho, but at the same time, it's a pure profit thing. So even if you get 40 million, you could turn that into 80, maybe 120 million in terms of spend. That's obviously massive in this market. You can get 2 or 3 players with that. So that's a different kettle of fish. This one, they just want him gone, don't they? They do. They just want him gone. And it's amazing how much can even change in a year. I remember when the deal was announced, or at least reported, and then later announced on deadline day last year, because it was one of those ones we got, here we go, and then Sancho wasn't actually announced for like a day or two after the window had shut to Chelsea, wasn't it? But when we got the information about what that deal was going to look like, when we found out that the obligation, and it wasn't an obligation in the end, but the obligation was £25 million, the general reaction at the time was that was, oh, I can't believe how little that is. That's hardly any money. That's 25 million for Jadon Sancho. They've robbed us blind, Chelsea. They've robbed us blind. I can't believe that. Can't look at what they've done. Go and see. There's like clips on socials, or go and see other channels on YouTube or whatever. People have meltdowns about Jadon Sancho. 25 million. 25. I can't. No. We've been robbed. Chelsea, they've done us blind. And then what happened? Fast forward, like 9 months later, Chelsea, they're willing to pay us to take him back. Let alone the 25 million steal. We ended up stealing from them. They went, here's 5 million. Have him. And we were like, oh. So, yeah, the damage that has been done, I suppose, to his reputation or his value over the course of the last 18 months is unbelievable. So now 15 million. It's like when you're playing Football Manager, you do offer the clubs 25, and then it comes back the next game day, and it goes, despite our best efforts, we've got no response. You go, drop it to 20, and you go, despite our best efforts, nothing. And then you start going, drop it to 10. And then when you drop it to 10 on Football Manager, what happens? You get a lot of frees coming, don't you? A lot of people go, look, I'll take him off your hand free, and you've got to contribute towards their wages. And you go, oh, fuck. How badly do I want him? I'll just do it. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. This is another one where it's different to the Garnacho one. You could say the whole, well, you know, like a bit like with Garnacho of, oh, well, attitude issue, etc., etc. But this one has the weight of Sancho wants money. You know, he wants the contract. He wants similar to the contract he's on. I don't think we can rule out a scenario like we've said before, where it's a loan, and they're like, well, what happens at the end of his loan? Because he's a free agent, and he's just going to be like, oh yeah, he's just going to go. You know, he's just gonna go on a free. He's found a way to see out his contract and get paid, but United have managed to subsidize some of the wages for the final year, so they're happy with that. At least they got something off, maybe. But Sancho, 15 million, it says a lot about what's happened over the last couple of years in terms of his career and where he would end up going. I guess he's still being linked to those moves to Italy, so maybe he ends up going there. I know that he was linked to Turkey for a hot minute, and then it was like he didn't want to go there. I think maybe he should reevaluate that position, honestly. I'd be looking at the caliber of players that are going to Turkey at the moment and the money that's there. You go, well, they've got money to pay for John Duran at Fenerbahce. They've got money to pay for Victor Osimhen at Galatasaray, Leroy Sané. I mean, they've done more than you, Jadon. You know, my goodness, Osimhen, Leroy Sané, they've done a lot more than Jadon Sancho. So, yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you want to play in that team? That's a good team. They'll do well. I will keep my eye. I'm not going to follow it, obviously, but I'm going to keep my eye and see what happens in Turkey this year. I think everyone's quite curious, aren't they? I mean, last year, Galatasaray ended up winning the league, and there was still drama with the whole Jose stuff. And then, but Oli is now at Besiktas, and he came back, and he was one of the only teams to actually beat Galatasaray that season, wasn't he? So, yeah, why not? Why not, Sancho? Go there. Apparently there is money there now, so I'm not sure, but I do think that one will get done. I don't see a scenario where Jadon Sancho is still here or anything like that, but it might. Maybe this end up do let him go on a free. And for those that are saying, well, that's so you were laughing at what Marcel was saying on Monday. This is exactly what happened. We must say that Marcel was suggesting that we should sell Alejandro Garnacho for £5 million and Marcus Rashford for £5 million. And the difference is, and he was also saying, offer them to Sunderland and for £5 million. And our pushback was at the time, well, you know, so of course, why wouldn't Sunderland want Alejandro Garnacho for £5 million? But Garnacho won't want to go to Sunderland, and also we can't be selling an academy player for pure profit of £5 million. We just, I mean, we're in the mud. That'd be a new level of being in the mud, wouldn't it? Could you imagine? Oh my goodness me. Yeah, that would be wild. That would be wild. We've still got over 1,400 people watching at the moment, which is great. We are less than 100 likes to go until 500 likes, folks. We're currently at 428. So let's see if we can get to 500, maybe even above before the show ends. We've still got plenty of time, still about 10 minutes or so before we wrap up the show. So yes, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to everyone's channels. That being the Football Fleck. There's a QR code that appears on the sidebar. I think he's close to 20K already, which is mad considering we started that up in April. So, yeah, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. There it is. My channel was just before that. Wrestling News 365555. Big weekend. I don't think I'm going to sleep, basically, for Saturday and Sunday because we've got AW All in Texas. Then later on that night, we've got Saturday night's main event, Goldberg's retirement match. Then the next day, we've got Evolution. It's going to be so much. It's going to be so much. Yes. Pyramid Scheme says, Owen, which is ironic that a pyramid scheme is saying this. Owen, stop spamming ads. I'm on the app. My hands are here. I do not control that, by the way. YouTube does what YouTube does. What I will say is, though, what I have done recently, because I, like you, Pyramid Scheme, have found YouTube to be quite addy recently. YouTube Premium, yeah. I know you see occasionally you see those tweets and it says like YouTube Premium changed my life. I'm not even bullshitting you. YouTube Premium has actually changed my life. Yeah. You get your first month you get is free. So I'm on like the trial at the moment. I ain't paid anything. And after that, I think it's like a tenner, maybe even less than that. I think about a tenner. It is brilliant. Brilliant. No more ads. You don't get ads at all. You can keep watching stuff when you close the app. So music or videos or whatever, just you shut it off. You don't have to worry about it or anything. You can download videos, so it's off, so that you can watch them offline as well. So if you don't want to use up data while you're away, it's bloody good. And even if you go, bit expensive, budget's tight, you get it free for a month. Get it free for a month and then cancel it. You have a very relaxed month. That's where I'm in at the moment. It's very good. Changed my life. Right, let's move on and talk about a recruitment overhaul. The Athletic, David Ornstein reported this yesterday. Good news and maybe a bit of concerning news, perhaps. David Ornstein said the Manchester United are searching for a head of senior recruitment, a new role overseeing senior scouts as part of the overhaul of that department. United will also have regional heads of emerging talent across the main talent pools globally. The appointments are part of the ongoing restructuring and attempted modernization of the scouting network. Continues by saying United plan to retain significant human scouting and analytical capabilities, particularly focused on emerging talent, with strengthened data support following the recruitment of Michael Sansoni as Director of Data. Sansoni was appointed from the Mercedes Formula One team earlier this year. Sportsology, the sports intelligence consultancy, is supporting United on senior hires. The firm's website lists NFL franchises, the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Los Angeles Rams among its clients, as well as MLS sides Inter Miami and FC Cincinnati. The new head of senior recruitment will report into Christopher Babel, who was appointed as United's permanent director of recruitment in February, following an interim spell in the position after signing a short-term deal last summer. It forms part of a wider overhaul of the club's football structure, which United have previously said is aimed at creating a more lean, agile, and efficient setup. Now, lean, agile, and efficient, of course, they are just buzzwords. You know what I mean? They are just corporate speaking buzzwords. You hear them in everything. What we want to make is a lean, dynamic workspace, where we can let creativity flow. And you go, it's good news, bad news, I think, this. Good news that I suppose, look, the overhaul at Manchester United, it's well overdue. I mean, several times, Sir Jim Ratcliffe in these interviews has spoken about having, we don't have a data department, or our scouting department's too bloated. We've got, in comparison to other clubs, we've got 1 million scouts, and we still can't seemingly scout the right players, and we miss market opportunities and what have you. So is there overhaul needed when it comes to that? Absolutely. Of course that is needed. The pushback is naturally, why is this happening now in the middle of the transfer market? Surely this would be one of those things that was done last year, or prior to last season's transfer window, or all the way through this season, because what we have been told all the time is, well, this summer, it's the first summer. The issues that Manchester United have had is because not everyone's been in situ. Omar Barada, it took a while. It took a while for him to come in, and Dan Ashworth, we came in and it wasn't the right fit, and Jason Wilcox, and then we had to bring in that head of data, and we had to bring in Christopher Val and work out, and this, that, and we had to get everyone positioned in place. What did he say whenever he did that interview with Gary Neville? We had a board meeting recently. It was for Manchester United, and it was the first time that the whole team was actually in situ. It was the first time that we could actually talk about football, and it was the first time everyone was there. It was actually a really, really good, productive meeting. And you go, okay, right, and then now we're in the middle of a transfer window where we are moving slowly. We signed one player and we haven't got rid of anyone that hasn't had their contract expire. And now we're still looking for that head of senior recruitment to help oversee and sort of transform this, this scouting and data department. You've had a year. You've had well longer than a year. You had a whole season to do this. Why have we decided it now? That's so alarming. That's so concerning. And does that explain what's happening at the moment? Right now, are we still winging it? Are we still winging it of, it's going to be next year. It's going to be next year. Next transfer window. That's when we'll have the recruitment department ready. We can make some good signings. So we've just sort of pissed away 3 windows, 2 summers and a winter, maybe even this coming winter as well. So I don't know. The only positive thing it feels like Man United can do at the moment when it comes to recruitment is our youth recruitment, because just yesterday we signed some centre-back. I forget his name. Is he like 15 or 16? And he's regarded as, maybe one of the next big things in terms of centre-backs. I think he's from Southampton, wasn't he? You look at Aiden Heaven, look at, say, Lenny Yoro, Siku Kone, Chido, that a lot of those stories have come out, or Diego Leon, hopefully he's going to be good. So in terms of those sort of youth recruitment or those youth level signings where they're nearly ready to get to the senior squad, but they need sort of 18 months to sort of just acclimatize and maybe develop a little bit more, and then they're going to be ready to go. That's encouraging. But that's also when people will look at Jason Wilcox and say, well, that's what he did so well for Manchester City, is that he was an academy director. And Manchester City have one of the best academies in the world. You look at the amount of players that are top players across Europe that have some kind of connection or tie back to Manchester City. So no wonder Jason Wilcox is good at that, because that's what he's been doing for a long time. But Manchester United need more at the moment than just really good academy players. Yes, long term, that might actually be really beneficial for us, because in 2, 3, 4 years' time, we've got this wave of young players through. We've got this revolving door of great homegrown talent. And even if they're not completely good enough, we can sell them on and sell them for 30 or 40 million. And that's pure profit. And then we're going to be, lean, agile, and explosive in the transfer market. That's great. And that is sustainability for the future. And that is another thing we do need to be doing. It's not to say that isn't important. It is. But at the same time, you can't just forget about the present because of it. You can't just bet everything on the future and go, well, in 2 or 3 years' time, that is going to be better. We just got to be shit for 3 years, because we saw Omar Barada come out and say, well, not qualifying for the Champions League isn't the worst thing in the world. We've budgeted to qualify for the Europa League for the next several years. We're not even in the Europa League. We're not even in Europe. And coming up again this season, what happens if we don't qualify for Europe again? Have we budgeted for that? So there is this, and this is why we had this conversation on the Trinity, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, where it's really difficult at the moment to figure out what is the aim, what is the expectation for Manchester United this coming season? Because it was so bad for us last year, 15th in the league. It was so bad that if we finish, say, 10th, that's a better season. But it's still nowhere near enough for Manchester United. And it's still a season that would have Ruben Amorim lose his job. If Ruben Amorim finishes 10th this season, or if we get to December or January, we'd be going he's got to go because it's still not good enough. So, then people might push back and go, well, what do you expect? That team finished 15th last season. It's better. So I don't know, man. I know people have been pushing back on me saying, oh, don't put too much pressure on the results of the preseason. Like I say, we've got that first game in 9 days' time, Leeds in Sweden, which I think it was Ben Jacobs dropped the story yesterday. There's no, Man United have got rid of the gifts, that exchange. When the two captains come together, and they swap the sort of pendant things. So they swap the pendant things. Here's ours, here's yours. That kind of get. But Man United scrapped that. According to Ben Jacobs, they've scrapped that. Rivals think it's a cost-saving measure. Manchester United claim that, well, we're playing an English side, we're playing a rival. We don't need to exchange gifts or any of that bullshit, which I suppose is kind of fair, But it's just part of it's just. Anything that gets scrapped now, inevitably, it looks like United are just sort of, once again, sort of penny pinching of, how much does that pendant cost? We don't need. We can save money on that. No, it's fine. No. We'd have to worry about that one. No worries. Yeah, that's fine. And how many Premier League teams are we playing on the preseason tour? We're only playing Premier League teams. Then we don't need to get any of those gifts either because we're going to see them in the season. So that's fine. Not an issue. We're playing Fiorentina at Old Trafford. Maybe. Well, maybe I'll have one. Maybe we'll have one bit of spending. Maybe. So I'm not sure. Nick says preseason means nothing. Van Gaal won all of his preseason games, and we were shit through that season. Nick, I'm with you. I've used that example every preseason for that I've been on this channel. I've used it for every preseason. Doesn't matter. The results don't matter. Van Gaal won every game, then he lost his first game at home against Swansea. But you would look at the overall picture and you'd say, but that season Manchester United did finish, was it third or fourth? We qualified for the Champions League. And the context is different because Ruben's barely won any games. Like he hasn't. So if we go into that game, against Leeds, and it's a bit like, when we played Asian All-Stars and we lost, and it was like, oh my God. If we lose against Leeds, it's like, I see you're in the mud, Leeds, rival, and it doesn't matter, but it also kind of does. I don't know. I'm not sure. I tell you what, folks, we're ending the show with some breaking news.
Breaking news.
It's not just in the intro. Manchester United have announced a signing. Yes, they've announced a signing, folks. It's not the one you're thinking. And, but it's been announced a signing. Manchester United have just posted a statement on social media that they've announced the signing of 18-year-old striker Enzo Cannabijik. Now, if you're going, well, is he that's a striker? Is he gonna be playing on pre-season? Like what's gonna be going on with that? He was, of course, the France Youth International. He scored 9 goals in 18 games for Le Havre's under-19s team. He actually earned a place on the bench for the first 2 occasions. But if you're thinking, well, we'll have a look. We'll have a look. Pre-season, we'll have a look. We're not going to have a look because following the signing of his contract, the emerging talent has secured a loan switch to Swiss Super League side Luzern Sport. Yes, an Ineos-owned team. So we have signed him, but like I just said, it's these youth players again. Wasn't the striker that's going to be. It's not. And so if anyone dares say, well, actually, we have signed a striker this summer, so. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Well, guys, I mean, it's kind of it's a good ending for the show, isn't it? So, what else is coming up? Oh yeah, we got What the Devil coming up around midday today, live with Dylan and the gang. Look, I hope a lot of people show up. I hope a lot of people show up to What the Devil. And look, ask Dylan the questions. We spoke a bit on the transfer show yesterday, Transfer View, that he had some things to say. Casemiro looking lean. And Mason Mount and Luke Shaw. That wasn't him, to be fair. I don't think that was him. That was Frank. But he was said about Casemiro looking lean. Ask him some questions, yeah? Ask him some questions and make him explain himself, yeah? Lean. It's the Lean Show, Lean View, coming up at midday. Have a good one, guys. If there's any breaking transfer news, that's bigger than the one I just did. That was a bit of a joke. Then I'll be back later on. Have a good one. Peace.